Taylor from Rant, and I love it when our work tempo picks up because it really helps to develop new ideas for videos and just motivate the whole team in general. So right now we are actually stopped for a minute, but we actually headed out on another PSD assignment. And if you don't know what PSD is, I know I used that acronym in the suspension trauma video that we did. But if you're not familiar, PSD either stands for Protection Security Detail or sometimes Personal Security Detail. So either way, it doesn't really matter. We're out here on an assignment, and it's becoming the unfortunate reality that in the current climate that this detail is directly related to the war going on with Israel and Hamas. And just for factual argument's sake, the FBI has stated that they have seen an increase in the reports of threats against Jewish, Muslim, and Arab communities and institutions. And they also said that the recent events have increased the possibility of potential attacks against individuals and institutions, and the Anti-Defamation reported incidents of harassment, vandalism, and assault increased by 380% since this war started. So that's why we're out here, as something going on with that. For the purposes of this video, for your preparedness mindset, you have to incorporate similar tactics or strategies to assist you in either your professional life or just to implement it, in order to keep your neighborhood safe if some things were starting to go wrong. And here are some considerations that we factor into scenarios like these. I love covering comms. For this operation, we are using the Motorola XTS 5000s. We're on our Simplex UHF band. We have our encryption keys enabled, and then we're plugging them into MSA Sordins or Comtech Peltors, depending on who's using what. So very basically, doing this type of assignment, this can be looked at as somewhat as a patrol. And for that, there are basically two types. You either have a reconnaissance patrol, and where you really don't want to be noticed or seen. And then you have a presence patrol where you're kind of just being like, hey, everybody, I'm out here and I want you to see me. Because that's either going to deter you away or persuade you into behavior, or a pattern or route that I want you to take or exhibit. Now, another important factor with these that they can be both useful, they can be both used offensively and defensively. And what I mean by that is, and if you're one of my professional fellow canine handlers, this is almost like the 4 quadrants of operant conditioning. So keep that in mind as we're going through this. Your offensive recon would be basically you have a specific target, whether that be a person, building, even a terrain feature, and you want to exploit it in some form or fashion without being detected. Defensive recon would be as simple as monitoring your facility's security cameras or motion sensors, or looking for signs or disturbances through strategically defensive landscaping or fences or walls. But the important thing here is that I don't want people to see that either the cameras are present or that I have gone out and checked a tripped alarm, or someone seeing me checking for signs of disturbances to those landscape features I mentioned. Now, offensive patrolling would be that you are intentionally making yourself known during your travel. You're out patrolling, and maybe to put a potential known or more than likely unknown adversary on notice and make them certainly aware of your presence. A great example of this would be in my time as a New York City firefighter. I witnessed the NYPD doing what they called shows of force, and they did them all throughout various locations of Manhattan. And basically, it was obviously directed post 9/11 to deter potential future terrorist attacks. And then past that, finally, it would be defensive patrolling, and this is where you're essentially guarding a facility or your house, and you want anyone and everyone to see you guarding it so that they are aware that you have a presence. If you look at images or videos of Area 51 and their security and the means and methods they utilize, you'll get the idea of what this is about. The work we've been doing here on this assignment is sort of a hybrid cohesion of offensive and defensive reconnaissance. And some things that help us set us up for success on jobs like this are things like, whenever possible, and this was one of those possibilities, we conduct a security advance. And these advances will start prior to us ever physically going to the location. Things like Google Earth are a great tool to utilize in seeing the big picture of the surrounding area. Not to mention the benefit of being able to measure distances between those, before travel or even for defensive purposes. So you can start setting your ranges and getting your ranges as, where certain features are and being able to associate them. Now this does have some limited usefulness as well due to the maps being outdated. It can be summertime, you're looking at a Google map and it's either in the fall or winter or maybe from 2 or 3 years prior, because there's either buildings that are there now that weren't there before, or there's buildings that aren't there anymore that they've, have since knocked down. The map just hasn't been updated. Another thing with that too is you can also kind of be blurred, blocked out of what you're trying to see just because of when the pictures were taken. If the canopy was real thick, you may not be able to get that ground view you were looking to get. One of the best ways that we deal with this, however, is through the use of drones. Rich is our drone guy, and I believe he's going to be doing a video specifically on the drones we use at some point. But up-to-date physical mapping of the area, 3D mapping, and even the ability to have real-time aerial imagery with thermal overlays or even night vision if your drone's capable of that. It's an incredible advantage to have. And another thing, while you are doing your advance, identifying both traditional and non-traditional access and egress points, as well as running routes, is significant points of interest, and preloading them into your GPS can pay off, big time if and when the time would come that you have to reference them. So if you've been watching a lot of these videos, I like to do all the comm stuff, and I kind of, assume that role when we're doing operations with RANT. One of the things that can be very important while you're doing, some sort of reconnaissance patrol is to monitor all the local emergency frequencies. Things to be cognizant of are things like, well, if someone within your protectee's facility or residence is experiencing a medical emergency, and in their panic, they will most likely just dial 911 and not even think to notify you of the situation. And if you weren't aware, one of RANT's, things is that all of us are 15+ year paramedics. So, we have the abilities to deal with a lot of, serious medical emergencies, and our detail kind of likes that we have that capability as part of our package. So just by monitoring those frequencies, you may be able to, respond to assist in a way that they were not expecting of you or remembered that you were able to do at all. Another great thing here is that by monitoring the radio, you are multiplying your surveillance ability by a measure you cannot even quantify. People who live, wherever it is you're working, they know what is normal and what is not normal. No matter how long of an advance you conduct it, they are also usually very, conscientious of what is going on around their individual property. So if there's a person or a vehicle loitering a block or two over, or if the occupants were seen exiting and cutting through their yard towards your location, this is something I obviously want to be aware of, and will go and intercept them, or at least surveil, depending on what those observations are at. And at the minimum, notify the QRF element as to the possibility of, setting up to be ready. Another technique or capability or advantage that we like to implement is the ability to see in the dark, utilizing both active and passive night vision for simply conducting scans of the property, or sometimes even better, to be able to navigate to and surveil an area without having to shine any sort of visible light. And again, with the scanning and surveillance activities, thermal also incorporates really, really nicely here. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this. It was kind of quick, just took a little bit of time before we got going here. I hope you enjoyed watching this. If you have any questions about anything specific, please just leave it in the comments, and someone from the team will certainly respond. And if you are interested, the majority of our courses are approved for pre-hospital medical continuing education. So that is always a nice added benefit. And we are going to be posting some dates on our website, as well as the Medicine in Bad Places' website. So please go and check them out and sign up early. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And we are constantly trying to, do more and more with this channel. And the more subscribers we have, the easier it is to justify the time and effort spent. So with that, stay safe. We'll see you on the next one.